Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Sir, since you have raised about the budget, on the 1st of February, the finance minister proposed an expenditure of 30,42,000 crores, out of which the biggest component is interest payment, that is 7,08,000. And the second biggest is establishment expenditure of the central government, which is 6,09,000 crores. Total expenditure, like if you take into account interest payment, then this budget, and then subsidy, defense, pension, grants, 22,28,000 crores are wiped out. That leaves only 8,000 crores. And our fiscal deficit is exactly 8,000 crores. So therefore, the point I'm making is, we are borrowing money, 8,00,000 crores, for our development expenses. How long can this go on, particularly in the context of minimum governance, minimum government and maximum governance?
Don't make those Freudian slips, you'll be taken seriously. In this city, nobody can stop a bad idea whose time has come.
6,09,000 crores of central government expenses, it increased from 5,46,000 crores. And there are a lot of off-balance sheet figures, despite the fact that food subsidy has gone down by 70,000 crores. So, sir, are you not concerned about the fiscal deficit, which appears to be grim?
Well, I'm very concerned. Actually, if you look at my book, there's a section in it called epilogue. I mean, because most of the book is when I'm backstage in the government. Now I'm off stage, so I'm commenting on a part of the government, but I wasn't there. So I'm looking at it from the outside. I do mention that, you know, the size of the fiscal deficit in India is greatly underestimated. I mean, internationally, you don't just look at the central government. You look at the central government and you look at the state government. And now you have all these disputes about whether the numbers are correctly calculated. There's no doubt in my mind that the fiscal deficit is grossly too high. I mean, put very roughly, most people think that if you calculated it correctly, it would be something like 8.5% of GDP, okay? And if you look at what is the financial system doing, the financial system normally generates revenue from the savings of households to make it available either to the corporate sector or to the government. Now, that savings that they mobilize, net savings, is only about 10 to 11% of GDP. So almost all of it is absorbed by the government fiscal deficit. Now, if you thought that the government fiscal deficit was financing wonderful expenditures which are leading to tremendous good for the country, you may not mind. But the same people who look at those expenditures feel that they are all financing things that really aren't helping the economy very much. So it's a serious problem. But I don't think the solution, by the way, is only reduction of expenditure. Because, you know, we need a more government expenditure in many areas. Our real problem is we're not spending enough on health and education and basic infrastructure, and we're spending on other things.
We have too small a foreign service to begin with.
That is also, by the way, entirely true, and I share that view. Because in fact, if you look at it by any standard, we have too few policemen, we have too few doctors, we have too few nurses, so we need...
Too few judges.
That's also true. We have too few judges. So there is a large-scale expansion needed in the size of government. The notion that the Indian government is too big is false. What is true is that India is not collecting the tax revenues it should. You know, the total tax revenue of the center and the state, I think, comes to about 16 or 17% of GDP. And lots of research shows that for India's level of development, it should be at least 5 to 6 percentage points higher. So I think on the fiscal side, the major problem is we're not doing a decent job of collecting taxes. And I'm not saying we should raise tax rates. We're just not doing a decent job of collecting taxes at the modest rates that we've got.